Welcome to the Quiet Part Out Loud. I'm Alex Stante,
And I'm Nuvyn Peters.
and we are here today with Susan Charles, the brand strategy lead at Google. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm going to just jump right in and start off with our very fun question. If someone made a movie about your life and career journey, can you run us through the story and what the title might be?
Yes, I'm going to start with the title because I feel like that is the umbrella with which we see everything else. And it's also got a byline.
Great.
Awesome. You have thought this through. I love it.
I've thought about this before. I was in a Women in Leadership program at Google about a year ago, and we talked a lot about like what our story is and like who was our inner critic. We had to name that person. And part of this was like thinking about the story of my life. And my title is Haters Gonna Hate. And then the byline is creating and propagating joy in a world that feels divided. And let me just unpack that a little bit for you. Like I had such a wonderful childhood. Like my parents are great. But I'm a child of the 80s and I'm a female child of the 80s. So like they raised me to get straight A's, don't rock the boat, be a good kid. And like that just felt like it followed me for still follows me. I still am like, oh, I have to do the right thing. And you will come up, and I've come up against people who have not been raised that way and don't do the right thing and do just hate on people. And like they are not cheerleaders and they don't support women and they are kind of like narcissistic, basically like the underbelly of society. And I very much feel that I have been able to retain like positivity and joy and bringing people together and finding ways to connect with people and putting people first amongst all of that. And now I'm at a part of my career where I've like found people that have that very similar philosophy. And I now don't give a lot of time to like those emotional succubuses. And I feel like that's just that has been my life's journey, is like feeling comfortable in my own skin and feeling comfortable with like who I am. And I will be the cheerleader and I will find ways to find happiness and I will find positivity. And now I will find like underhanded ways to like screw with those people who are mean.
Little microaggressions.
But like not sometimes intentionally. And I don't also believe in microaggressions, but like if you're a mean person, you kind of deserve it.
So is this a comedy? Is this
sometimes, because I'll step
action
in it.
movie?
It's like all of the above. It's a lot.
So when you think about, your journey as a kid and what made you who you are today, what would your younger self think of where you're at in your age and stage and your career achievements thus far?
Oh, my younger self would say something like, it took you a long time to get there, but glad you finally got there. It's just took a long time for me to feel comfortable in my own skin. And I think part of it is because I did not have strong female career mentors until I would say like maybe 13 years ago. I had a lot of influences who were like micromanagers and who just were not supportive people first leaders. And once I got that and like I could see the behavior, and then I started to model the behavior more and really felt comfortable and psychologically safe in those environments. And yeah, it just took a long time to get here. And I don't want that for the future. Like I don't want that for young women today. I want to like give them these areas to thrive in so that they can screw the patriarchy and like become the strong leaders that they should be.
Yeah, it's great to have a bad leader to know what a good leader is too, right? Like you have to have the bad so that you can recognize what is good.
Yes, but like can we maybe like not have as bad?
Can it not be that bad?
Yeah, I was
What
in
if
this sorry, this is a little bit of an aside, but my one
No,
of
go.
my first job slash career move out of getting my MBA, I had a manager who on my 1 year review brought up something that she didn't like from when I had day 2. And it was never brought up the entire year, but it was day 2. And I didn't attend an event on day 2 because I didn't know and I was out of town. And because I didn't switch my entire life to go to this event, it was brought up on my yearly review as my lack of commitment to the business. And I was like, this is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mhm.
like, when I say
Mhm.
maybe less bad managers, less of that.
Yeah. I think many of us have had those experiences where you go in for your year-end review and you're like, why wasn't this brought to my attention months ago? Or how could you interpret that being, a lack of commitment to the company or a lack of whatever professionalism or whatever it may be? But I still hear that story often.
What type of skills would you consider a good leader? Like, what have you learned and observed and tried to emulate in terms of leadership skill set?
I Some of the best leaders I've had are really great at fostering environments of psychological safety. They want us to bring our full selves to work. They listen, they help troubleshoot. Like there's learning opportunities and there's feedback, but it's actionable feedback and it's not personal. Um, these leaders also have a vision for how the company is going to grow, a vision for the type of culture that they want. Um, and like you see that reflected in their own lives. Like, yes, sometimes our lives get messy and sometimes we make bad choices. But ultimately, like if we are trying to model the behavior of being like showing up and being the type of person that you'd want to be around, those are the best that
Mhm.
I've had.
Maybe on that thread, outside of work, I know you are very active and you're a wife and mom of 2 little girls. How does your leadership style or your leadership skills translate into your daily life?
I I don't want to be the type of person that comes up here and says that like being a parent has made me a better leader. Being a parent has made me a better person because that's not true. Like I work with many people who are not parents, who are phenomenal leaders, and who very much think of others first. Um, I've also had the opposite.
Yeah.
But in my experience, I have learned that like the same like fostering of psychological safety and allowing someone to bring them their full self, allowing to or like listening and helping to troubleshoot without judgment, with a calm demeanor and not passing like my frustrations onto our teams or my team and not passing my frustrations down to other people. Passing calm, passing joy, that's what I want to do. I also try to
Mhm.
do that with my kids. Now, I am not perfect at it by any stretch of the imagination. Like my girls are in the stage where they fight like crazy. And sometimes I would like to come in and raise my voice to the level of their voices. But I try not to do that. I try to come in and just say, you know, let's talk about this in a calm way.
Mhm. It's a
Let's
different kind of
diffuse.
chaos at home.
It's yes. But when I say that like parenting them has made me a better leader, I I take some of the issues that we've dealt with over the past couple of years. Like, for example, my eldest daughter was bullied a little bit, not a little bit, quite a bit last year, and did not have the words to talk about how she felt. And instead, all of that stress manifested in other ways. Um, and now I realize, like, when people, even adults, are under stress, sometimes they don't know how to talk about it. We weren't taught to talk about it in a way that is a coping skill or a coping mechanism. But now I'm just know that if someone's really stressed at home or if someone's really stressed about something work related or if they've burnout in some way, shape, or form, it may manifest in other ways. And I need to approach them and be really empathetic and try to understand why so that we can help and support each other.
That's a very, I would say, unique approach to leadership, being that empathetic, authentic leader that's actually seeking to support their team members in a holistic way, recognizing that there are many things that influence who someone is bringing to work. Like they're showing themselves in that moment, but that is influenced by all of the things that are going on personally, professionally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it may be. How did you cultivate that type of, you know, uh, empathetic leadership where you actually are seeking to support your team members in a holistic way?
I, I don't remember the exact point that I learned this, but I do recall like even younger in high school, like being part of groups where like you realized if something was bothering one person or if something was bothering like if something happened at school, like it manifested in other ways. It manifested on sports teams. It manifested in friendship groups. And it was like, wait a second, we got to clear the air and have a reset. Otherwise, something's not going to work properly. Like we're not going to do well on tests. We're not going to do well. Like we need to figure this out before we can move forward. And throughout time passing in career, there's a couple of managers that I've had that have really listened, like have really cared about me as an individual. And again, modeling that behavior, like seeing how I felt in those moments, like really cared for, really valued beyond my contribution to the business. That made me want to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
And like it gave me a different level of motivation that I may not have had otherwise. And now I see that with other people. Like if you ask them how they're doing, if you ask them about their family, if you ask them about their parents, if you recognize that like there's a lot of demands on their time and just ask them how they're managing that, we're more productive and we reach, like we have a better understanding of each other and we work better together. And every single time in my career where we've had like a really great culture, a really great safe environment where people feel valued beyond their contribution to the business, we've had higher levels of productivity and we've achieved more together. So like generally I've seen positive outcomes. Certainly the opposite is a more negative outcome. So I kind of lean into the people first aspect.
And so how has a company in your journey at Google contributed to that in terms of creating the culture that values that type of leadership and sets it as a priority?
It's been validating in many ways because the culture, we like everyone knows that there are smart, we work with really smart people, we work with really intelligent people, and it's okay to fail. Like it's okay to say, I have an idea, let's try it out. If it fails, it fails, and no one's going to judge us, and it's not going to show up a year from now on a performance review.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a lot of safety to say like, let's try something out, and if it works, great. But everyone is like has a mutual respect. And like, great, I shouldn't say everyone. Like, there's been a few people that I've come across that are like, oh, why do you work here? But not many.
Yeah. That's an interesting comment just around like, how do you create that innovative workplace where people have the freedom to create within the safety of knowing, you know what, if this doesn't work out, the metric of success is that we tried. And that's the type of entrepreneurial thinking that I would say a company like Google is known for. But is that something that is kind of hardwired into the ethos of the company throughout the organization?
I think so. And I'm without revealing, I think maybe too much or without getting me in trouble with our PR team. You can go on like how Google hires and there's very clear tenets of what they're looking for. And I remember someone when I was first interviewing saying like, we hire for a thing called googliness. And I was like, Googling us. Like, tell me more about that. And they're like, it's a mindset. It's like you see a piece of garbage on the side of the street and you will pick it up. Or you see I have a neighbor who I saw a couple of weeks ago pulling a full suitcase and pushing a stroller to get to a bus stop. And rather than me walking away, I pulled her suitcase and I sat with her while she waited for her bus and just talked to her. Like that we hire for that. And that builds a workforce that very much wants to support each other.
Yeah. And so my question for you would be, so Google hires for culture, they hire the people, they're looking for very specific traits. How would you suggest someone who maybe is leading a team in a culture that's not like that? How would you, if you moved on from Google and let's say you were working in a more command and control type organization, how would you still encourage that kind of like test and fail mentality in a different atmosphere?
First of all, I don't think I would ever go into an environment like that.
Yeah.
I think part of like what I've learned over the last couple of decades is like when I'm interviewing or when I plan to interview in the future, whenever that happens, I am just as much interviewing them as they are interviewing me, because I don't want to go into a culture that doesn't value feedback. Like if you don't value feedback, like what are we doing here? Doesn't value feedback, doesn't value people, and doesn't value like the process of like getting to better probably includes a bit of failure. And we're not like no judgment here. But let's theoretically say I've lost my mind and we will do something like that. I'd probably get fired really fast for asking too many questions, for attempting change management with people that probably don't want to change. And just saying like, this is probably pretty too controversial, but I generally believe that the fish rots from the head. Like if the leadership team doesn't model certain behaviors and doesn't value feedback and doesn't believe that like failing is okay and doesn't want to take risks, in all likelihood, that culture is not going to be one that will thrive.
I've never heard that saying before.
I love it.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
But I really like it now.
Oh,
I'm probably an outlier. I'm sure it is a very commonly used saying.
I just heard it from a few different places where the leadership team was really, I would say, not super self-aware, struggling, and not doing their best work. Because think about it. If you don't thrive in that area, how are you going to hire? And how are you going to foster an environment that's going to grow?
It's definitely not a growth type of environment.
But it's interesting how many leaders are oblivious to the role that they play in setting that culture and the tone. So earlier when you mentioned like going into a performance review, do you think that leader noted like, you know what, actually this is the detrimental impact that this is going to have on Susan's trajectory with our organization?
No. You have to be self-aware in order to feel that. And you, like I said, you have to value feedback. Like elicit or solicit. Is it elicit or solicit? It's one of those two.
Both.
It's both. You have to ask for feedback and you have to listen to it and you have to not take it personally. Like I did this a couple of weeks ago. I created something and I sent it out and I said, look, I want your feedback. I want this to be useful for you. But I am also a sensitive person. So if you're going to give me that feedback, sandwich it. Tell me what you like. Tell me what sucks. And then tell me what you like again. Because I kind of like this. But I want feedback from people. If I'm not showing up well, in all likelihood, I've known that I have not shown up well. Like I had a conversation yesterday with a couple of people on our leadership team. And because it was the day after a long weekend, I had trouble stringing sentences together, which typically happens when I spend 4 days with my children and I don't have a business conversation. And I said, this has not been my best showing. I will take your feedback, but just know I'm having trouble putting sentences together.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's normal. That's a human thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, humanizing leadership is something that I think we ought to spend more time on, because the expectations that we have on our leaders are overwhelmingly complex and unrealistic, I think, into a certain extent. And so when people are considering going into these real leadership roles, you have to be vulnerable, but accessible, action oriented, but decisive, but consultative. And it is really hard. And I think as women, we take that on in very real and raw ways.
Yeah, like I said, I've had a couple of really great, like I've had some really bad managers, but really great managers who have been able to strike this balance of like they are human. They recognize that they are not always right, but they like try to do a really good job of surrounding themselves with people that like help them be right more often.
Hmm.
And like and able to acknowledge when there's a problem and we just need to hold hands and fix it together.
I'm going to lead into a question we sent you already, which is, I think, very connected to this. What does success look like for you these days? And how has that maybe changed over time?
Now I just started a new role at Google and like 60 days ago, I think 60 days ago. Um, Success for me in this moment is being really helpful and adding value and being and establishing myself with a team who doesn't know me very well. Like I came from working with a team that I'd worked for almost 10 years, and they know everything about me, and they know that I would bend over backwards to help them as long as I could. And I have to establish that with a new team and let them know that I care about them, about their business, about our business in general. And that's a lot. Like that's not my normal balanced life. So success for me is figuring that out and then making this crazy onboarding process like not turn into a crazy normal. That can't be my new norm. Success for me is also showing up as a present parent. I recently deleted Instagram and a couple of other social media platforms, and my screen time is significantly lower than it was. I deleted Instagram for a variety of reasons. It was not good for my mental health. I was being predatorily targeted. At least I think so. Anyway, I deleted it, but like I'm a more present parent now.
Hmm.
And if we are on social media, like the girls and I watch like cake videos together. And like that is so joyful for all of us. And we do it together versus separate. And we talk more and success for me is showing up and being a present parent. And then on the personal side, I am not always the best at self-care, but I love fitness. I love lifting heavy weights. Like it is working out and my fitness journey is kind of core to who I am. It makes me a better person, but it is a journey. And as I started my new role, I kind of let some of that slide a little bit. And like my journey now is bringing me back to the things that take care of myself mentally and physically. So like if I can do a great job at work, or at least know that I am showing up and people can feel my presence in a positive way, that's success. If I can be a present parent, that's success. And if I can manage to get a few workouts in a week, I'm nailing it at life. Nailing it.
I love that. We talk a lot about, the pressures of being good at everything all of the time, right? And it can't happen. So it's like, what can I be good at right now?
Notice I didn't say great wife. I try so hard, but like I'm trying. Something.
You know what? It's a question of priorities.
All we can do is try.
He's going to watch this and he's going to be like, "You're a great wife."
I want to ask you a little bit about the screen time topic that you mentioned. So you kind of live and breathe digital strategy.
Yeah.
How are you raising kids in kind of the age of algorithms? And what is your parenting philosophy around social media and the internet?
I So I teach on the side as well. And I've noticed over the last several years that our ability to think slow and to read has significantly decreased. So in my class, like we do read academic texts, and that's intentional. Like not only do we need to understand the history, but we also need to retrain our brains to think slowly and to be able to sit with something and sit with discomfort and sit with something that is not instant gratification. So for the kids, what we've always done, and less so with my youngest because we have influence of the oldest, we don't do a lot of screen time. We do, I don't know, a couple hours a week. If we're driving in the car, they can watch something. But we're intentional about what we do give them. Like we are not giving them anything that's lots of flashing light and moves really quickly. We watch a lot of Bluey. I feel like every parent does that. But we watch other things that, again, move slowly. Like there are some Netflix shows, there's some Disney shows that intentionally have slower animation. I mean, I'm protecting, I wouldn't say protecting their innocence, but I'm protecting like their ability to be bored. And I want them to have that. And then once they're older, they can choose to do whatever they want. But they're going to have a foundation where like they're going to know what slow and boredom look like.
Yeah, there's some fascinating data also about the benefits of boredom with kids and what that teaches them in terms of like how to spend their time, how to make decisions, how to just be in that moment where you got to figure out like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm bored. I'm like, great. Go be bored over there though, because mommy's on a Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. I bought them a wagon. I've like wanted one of these wagons to take to the beach for like years. And I finally bought it the other day. And I was like, guess what? It's a wagon for the beach, but it's also a wagon for you with your stuffies. Go outside. And they were like,
Take the wagon.
yeah.
I was reading actually an article this morning that said that interviewed kids and asked them, what would you do if you weren't on your iPad? Like if you weren't playing, like was it Roblox, I think is the big game. And the data around this was like 75% of kids ages like 6 to 11 have played Roblox or consistently play Roblox. And so these researchers asked the kids, what would you do with your time? And 45% of them said, I would be playing outside with my friends. And then they dug into that a little more, realizing that actually kids don't play outside unsupervised very regularly. And they don't know the friends in their communities, either because we have a community where you kind of pull your car into your garage and you go in and you close the door and your kids are on their iPads and they don't experience the joys of outdoor play and summer fun. Or maybe they aren't going to a community school, so you don't get the benefit of just meeting the neighborhood kids. And when I think about our childhoods, that's all we did was like run around to people's houses on our neighborhood block. But I thought it was very interesting that these researchers asked the kids, what would you be doing with your time if you weren't on Roblox?
That is such a cool question. And Nuvyn, I've plugged this book before on our podcast, but have you read Anxious Generation, Susan?
No, but I've heard about it. I was about to listen to a podcast about it a few days ago.
The podcast will probably also be very good, but it's a great book. And what it digs into is like the history of how kids have grown up in the past, I don't know, let's say 15 years, and the experience of social media and the experience of these connected video games. And he breaks it actually into how boys and girls experience different things. So kind of the risks around how girls are experiencing social media and they're being targeted for, very personal things that are affecting their mental health. And then boys are on these video games where they can chat with whoever. And I would recommend it to anybody who's kind of parenting young kids right now, because it breaks out the risks of what he says is overprotecting your kids in real life, like in the world, and underprotecting your kids online. And so he says, let your kids go out and like walk to the store and buy candy, like give them that challenge, or let them go out and walk around the block and have to find their way home. We're overprotecting our kids in real life and underprotecting them online, which actually has a higher risk of like predatory behavior. So I listen to the podcast. I listen to the audiobook, which is also very good. But it's a great one for kind of informing parenting philosophy of young kids.
And so, what does the future hold for you? Like, what's next on your leadership journey?
Right now, my leadership journey is trying to, like I said, establish myself in this new role and trying to understand what like my place is currently. And I'm happy to do that for a little bit because like influencing people that I have never met before and creating influence in areas that I haven't experienced and building a reputation is something that's really important to me. And that's what I'll be doing in the foreseeable future. We're also navigating a international move. We live in Toronto right now. This new job is going to take me to Chicago. So there is a lot of that's going to happen in the next 6 months. But from there, it will be like figuring out what the next move is and how to take on more in a world where I still want to be a present parent and have a good balance of self-care. And create impact and in areas that are new to me. I very much believe in like I have a skill set, but I have to have multiple I have more experiences than that skill set because it will make me better at my current role. Like I'm a brand lead. I talk brand all day, but do I understand performance media and how that works? And do I actually run it in a side hustle? Yes, because it makes me better at my brand role. So I'm also trying to like collect experiences like that along the way to make me better for the future.
And so what are the conversations you're having around the dinner table regarding this move? Like we've had a couple of guests on this podcast that have moved their family across the country or their job has taken them elsewhere. And I'm so curious what that conversation looks like with two working parents and how do you make those decisions and what like logistically what does that look like?
Yeah, like full transparency, we're not having dinner conversations about this because we're in the throes of working on immigration things, and so our timeline for moving is not very set. And we haven't told our kids yet because there is no timeline, and literally the first question that they're going to ask is when, and I don't know, so I'm not going to create unnecessary stress. But we do talk about like my husband runs his own business. How is that going to translate into the new country? Like, what are we going to do here and there to set him up for success? How are we thinking about schools? How are we thinking about locations? What type of quality of life we want to have? And like, we have a cottage, which is where we're at right now. What happens with that? So like, there's a lot of planning and spreadsheets that have been done. And I'm sure that there will be more, but we're just trying to understand, we're trying to mold the life that we want and set ourselves up for, I would say, a smoother landing, a smooth-ish landing.
Embracing the uncertainty in a world when we make decisions based on spreadsheets and what we know. And that's probably a hard kind of limbo to be living in right now.
Yes. And we had to talk about that this morning. I am taking things day by day and tackling what is on the plate for this day and controlling what I can control and letting go of what I can't.
I think we could probably all absorb some of that as we navigate, whether it's next steps professionally or personally. And so, Susan, we wish you all the best, and we will be watching your journey from afar. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
The Quiet Part Out Loud is produced by Access Connects and brought to you by Oh, wait, is there a sponsorship opportunity there? Learn more at accessconnects.com.